Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, star seeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with beautiful Brittany today. And Brittany Gordian is a soul embodiment guide, quantum energy healer, and transformation coach. Her programs empower women to awaken their bliss body frequency, which sounds so delicious, activate sensuality as a superpower, and align with their highest selves. Her work incorporates elements of body intuitive, holographic sound healing, breath work, shamanic past life clearing, spiritual fitness, and lifestyle design coaching. Hi, Brittany. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Amy. I am so honored and excited to be here with your mystical, magical audience. I just already feel such the vibration of everyone in this field and the container that you've created. So I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I have a magical audience. I love hearing from the people in my audience. They're always so brilliant and beautiful and so vulnerable on their spiritual awakening path. So thank you for sharing your experience and your wisdom in advance. So Brittany, I read your bio that you gave to me, that your kind of elevator pitch, succinct, compacted definition of what you do. But of course, so Brittany and I are in a mastermind group together. So I've been in touch with her for a few months now, and I know that she's cannot be fit into a few sentences, really. So would you mind sharing with us kind of who you feel like you are and what it is that you do and where you're from, kind of more about yourself?
More about me. Where to begin? So I've been doing this work. I have come to realize through my own awakening process and illumination of this mission for many, many, many incarnations, many, many, many lifetimes. And the more I kind of delve into this work, the more of those lifetimes reveal themselves. Really, what I am here to do is help to awaken the frequency of heaven on earth. I resonate with the concept of being a star seed. I have a lot of connection to a lot of galactic energy, but also a lot of earth energy, and really here to illuminate our ascension process into 5D and above, and really embrace this potential to experience heaven on earth, not only in the physical manifestation of the reality that we experience, but also within our physical bodies where it all starts, right? So it's really integrating the codes of what I connect to as this Lemurian energy inside of our body, awakening sacred union of our divine feminine and sacred masculine into wholeness. And from that space of alignment with our soul, to be able to manifest from a place of pleasure, from a place of joy, all of the abundance and mystical dreams that we have here, and just allowing ourselves to fully embrace and receive them. Yeah. So where that all kind of began, it's been a very long journey of my own awakenings and healing process. I was a very sensitive child. I did not have a lot of tools for navigating that sensitivity just within my own family. So my parents were amazing, amazing parents, but they definitely did not attune me to the concepts of spiritual and esoteric practices and energy healing and vibration. It was very much more mainstream, and our kind of spiritual belief system within our household was yeah, God exists. Figure out your own connection to that, which I really appreciate, that I had a really open channel for navigating within myself what that meant. But really early on, I became really super overwhelmed by not knowing how to navigate energetic boundaries within my external environment, whether that be within my family, with going to school. And so when I was 14, I was first diagnosed with depression and anxiety, because I just got to a point where I didn't even want to go to school anymore. because I just felt so overwhelmed and I didn't know how to move through that sensitivity and channel it into my superpower. So at that age, I was medicated for the depression and for the anxiety, which really numbed down a lot of my psychic gifts. So I can remember as a child, like being so connected to crystals and channeling mermaids and really, talking to the earth elements and being very connected to this spiritual psychic side of myself. And as soon as that kind of diagnosis came into play and those medications started coming into my physical body, a lot of that connection to that part of me dissipated. And while there was this numbness and this like false sense of like being okay, I always, on a deeper spiritual level, knew that there was something that was out of alignment with this experience of feeling as though I need to take this pill in order to be okay. I knew that there was something about that that did not feel empowering. And so when I was 21, having been on that medication that whole time, I had my first experience with a download, a spiritual download, as I call them now. At that point, it manifested as like a panic attack. It was like this overwhelming sense of knowing that I needed to purge my body of those medications. And it manifested as just like this crying outburst. I was supposed to go on this graduation trip to Vegas with my friends from college. And the night before, I just had this breakdown. I'm like, I can't go party in Vegas and do all the, drugs and alcohol. Like, I have to go somewhere spiritual. Like, something in my soul was like, you have to go somewhere spiritual. So I Googled spiritual retreat center and I found Sedona, Arizona, which I had never heard of before. I'd never heard of energy vortexes or energy healing. And something in my soul was just like, you have to go. And so I booked a trip. I found this amazing and mystical place called Angel Valley. If anyone is visiting Sedona, I highly recommend. It is a portal of what they call New Lemuria, this Lemurian portal that has all of these sacred sites and grids for holding the vibration of this Lemurian heaven on earth frequency. So my soul was like, yes, you have to go there. And so I went there, and for a week, I was introduced to all of these amazing, amazing modalities: sound healing, past life regression, crystal therapy, tarot, and had a lot of confirmation from my guides who I had really been numb to hearing that energy healing was my mission and my work here on this planet. And I had a lot of remembering of lifetimes of having done that in other experiences. And so from then, this past 10 years has been a mystical journey of my own awakening experiences, of my own healing, and of really launching into embodying this work to support others full time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And like, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. You're speaking my language. And so I just want to acknowledge a couple things, like when you shared like how counterintuitive it felt to you as a teenager to have to take a medication to alter yourself to fit into society. And I just think like those intuitions are so important and so powerful. I don't know. It just, if anybody else is out there listening and feeling that same way, like I talked in my spiritual awakening, like my first 3 episodes were about my own spiritual awakening. And in my 20s, I voluntarily went on antidepressants and anti-anxieties because I'd worked myself into such like an eddy of chemicals, brain chemicals that I couldn't really get out. And I really wanted to give people permission to be able to do that. And yet at the same time, like I ended up getting off of it because, again, like it's that realization that is it really us? Is there something wrong with us that we have to take something in order to change who we are on a chemical level to like fit in? Or is it actually that the systems we've created for ourselves or that have been created for us make no sense and require us to alter our authentic selves in order to fall in line, which is a huge tragedy because our authentic selves are magical and incredible. And then also I wanted to acknowledge how big of a deal it must have been to listen to that voice that was like, you can't go to Vegas with your friends on this totally normal, like planned trip that is like, according to the way we think when we're in our early 20s, like, duh, you would go to Vegas to celebrate your graduation with your friends and do drugs and get drunk and have an awesome
Right.
time and party. And your soul was like, no, you're going to a
Yeah,
spiritual retreat, and you went, and it completely changed your path. And what a big deal. Like, that must have really felt confronting in a lot of ways to say no to that sort of passive normalcy with your friends and social acceptance and listen to yourself at that time.
absolutely. Yeah, my friends were very confused and very upset with me. Yeah. They've forgiven me since. But yeah, it was, I mean, sometimes I think that spirit, when your soul has such a divine mission and you know, your soul like wants so much the highest path for you, sometimes that voice and that like catapult of force, of momentum, of energy will come through in a really, really, really uncomfortable emotion, which I think is something like really important to acknowledge for people, because often we get these like overwhelming emotions of like anger or anxiety or frustration or sadness, like a catapult of like really, really, really deep emotion. And we can channel that into the energy of movement, right? So spirit talked to me through the portal of anxiety. It was like a panic attack, and it made me so uncomfortable that I had to move. I had to choose. Like, it honestly didn't feel like a courageous choice. It felt like I'm in so much discomfort with staying in this timeline that if I don't listen to that, I'm going to stay in this, and that does not feel good. So
Yeah.
it's like on one level, there was like a level of, like trust and courage, but also it was like, I'm just like having to move because spirit is like pushing me in such a strong direction. So I think it's important when we learn how to like alchemize the medicine of our emotions, how anger and frustration and anxiety can be really important catalysts for momentum into a new potential, rather than like dwelling in them and judging them and being like, oh, there's something wrong with me. Let me take more of that anti-anxiety pill. Actually asking like, what is this emotion trying to move me towards?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I absolutely, like, in my, I don't know, communications with the non-physical intelligence that I communicate with, I've also received the same guidance that emotions are transient states of being, but they have a purpose, and it's an alchemical purpose. It's meant to like wash over us and transform us, especially those really powerful ones, whether they're like beautiful one. We all want the beautiful, wonderful ones. So we don't make ourselves wrong for feeling amazing. But the ones that are really hard, we do judge them a lot, and we try to like resist them. Like, we contract against them and resist them and try to push them away and question what's wrong with us that we feel this way. And if we would just surrender to them and the message that they're carrying, then they can do their job and move through so much faster, and then we get shifted in the ways that our soul is actually desiring to be shifted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so I'm so excited about this conversation.
Yeah.
So you got this download while you were there about, or this guidance that you're meant to do energy healing work and basically like do your part in elevating the collective consciousness of humanity and show that, 5D and above consciousness is available, 5D and above creation is available, and that like it just doesn't have to be the way that it is anymore if we so choose on earth. And what was it like in your path, your personal trajectory, to then like do that and embody that, like to receive that guidance and integrate it? Was it, did you kind of always know that's what you were here to do, or were you previously on some other kind of path, like whatever college program you took? Like, was there some other thing that you thought you were going to do that was like totally normie, and then you were like, what? I'm an energy healer. And
I think that I always, as a child, even, up until that point when this download came, I was always doing energy healing. I just didn't know that that's what it was called. So I'd always be the one that was like holding space for people going through some level of transformation, especially if their emotions were overwhelming or painful. And I would be like the like, let me be there for you and hold space and kind of be your coach, your mentor, your guide to the light, like be your cheerleader. I feel like I always resonated with that kind of personality. But I had just come out of graduating from college, getting a degree in television production and broadcast journalism. So I went to film school. So I came out of this, like, graduation, didn't go on the trip, got the download. You're here to awaken people's, chakras and channel their past lives as mermaids. And I'm like, great. I just had this like very expensive college education and bachelor's degree in film school that my parents so, generously supported me in. How do I go home to them and say, actually, I'm here to do this other thing? So I ended up, my first job was in LA in the entertainment industry. And I found a way to merge that mission with the education that I had. That's kind of like the first portal I stepped into. And I worked for a nonprofit organization called Stand Up to Cancer. So there was this higher intention for bringing healing and elevation to our collective through this really, immense disease that many people are facing or have been touched by. I think everyone on some level has been touched by cancer. And so I did like PSAs and telethons and did a lot of video production work with different celebrities in order to raise money for this very innovative model for cancer research that was all about collaboration. But after doing that for a few years, I got the download that I was like tired of fighting against a disease. And I really wanted to embody stepping into what does aligning with the vibration of health. And I also got the download from spirit that there is this whole mystical side of the expression of your energy healing work that you have not explored as a practitioner yet. So I got another one of those panic attack downloads and it said, move to Miami. And I didn't know why. I had grown up in Fort Lauderdale, so I had some resonance with Florida from ages like 5 to 10. And I had a best friend from college who was living there, and I had been there a couple of times for work. So it's like Miami was kind of like in my realm. But this voice is like, move to Miami, move to Miami, move to Miami. And this was right before 2012, which I think most people maybe had some resonance of like a big activation of a shift that happened in 2012. And so I just sold everything, one-way ticket, another one of those moments where I just went on a whim, did not have a plan of what I was going to do for work, didn't know exactly what the calling was. My friend like let me stay on a couch for a little while. And I ended up getting a really amazing job working as an apprentice and assistant for an energy healer, like a master energy healer who does a modality called body talk. And as soon as I read about body talk and what it was, everything in my soul was like, yes, this is the thing. This is the thing. And body talk is a consciousness-based healing system that is all about embodying the concept that we have infinite capacity for elevating our vibration and therefore completely eradicating any sense of imbalance within ourselves, literally just through ourselves without any external source of input. And, for me, having felt that disconnect of like having all of this kind of medication in my body, I was like, oh, this is activating our superpowers for self-healing. This feels so good in my soul. Every part of my body is lighting up with bliss and saying yes to this. So I worked for her. I would serve as a surrogate for distance sessions, which was like a really new concept to me. I'm like, wait, so I can lay here, you can do the session on my body, and then someone in Germany is receiving the session. Like, what is this magic? How does this work? And so it just illuminated a lot of expansion of my consciousness about how our fields and as our bodies have the capacity for self-healing through that. And I started to take classes in it. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the thing. I'm going to take the classes. I'm going to become a practitioner. Like, I'm on the path. Little did I know that the path of, really stepping into holding space as a practitioner in this type of work also requires you going really deep into your own shadow and really deep into your own layers of healing, which I hadn't really explored yet to the depth that needed to happen for me to step into the powerful place of being able to hold space for others. There were things I needed to transmute and transform and alchemize within myself so that I could hold those codes in my work. So I had my first experience with a Kundalini awakening shortly after starting to study this work and kind of being open to like the mystery school teachings of this energy healing. And at the time, I'd never heard of Kundalini energy. I'd never heard that word before. I wasn't seeking that experience. It just kind of happened to me. And so when that happened, my body received a surge of energy on such a visceral level of like, I describe it as feeling as though the universe was making love to me. Like it opened up all of my chakras in a way that I did not have a connection to or awareness of my chakra system before that experience. And my body went into a complete state of like orgasmic bliss. And I started getting all of these visions and downloads. It was kind of like I catapulted out into the universe. It looked like the Matrix. There were all these sacred geometry like images, and there were all of these like numbers and all these past lives. And like it was like a moment, but it was like 10, billion years, like all in one, like just jolt. And something that I've heard people who take DMT have like a similar kind of shoot out of your body moment, but I hadn't taken DMT. This was just from like the activation of my own Kundalini energy coming online. And so after that experience, I was like, whoa, okay. And I, for about a week and a half, went into a state of complete like orgasmic light body bliss. I was walking in a whole different dimension. I experienced the vibration of oneness in a way that I'd never known was possible before. People's faces would start to morph into my face, into my family's face, into their past lives. I started to see energy in a whole different way. I started to experience the God in each person from this place of deep, deep, deep unconditional love and this higher vibration where there was no judgment, no separation, and all of these illusions that had, kind of been in my consciousness prior to that. After that bliss energy sort of wore off, I went into kind of the shadow aspect of what that opened up in me, which were all the places in myself where I had not integrated in a really deep way all of what I was shown. It's like all the places within myself where healing had not yet been illuminated. And it actually put me into a really deep depression, a lot of anxiety again. I went back into the medication. I was drinking a lot to kind of like try to find that energy again, try to find that like bliss state. And so I went into kind of like a dark night of the soul moment. And that lasted probably for about 8 months. And then Spirit had one of those other like, on the bathroom floor, dump out the alcohol and the pills moments where it's like, okay, now it's time to really heal. And I took about a year where I just went into really deep solitude, like 5 hours a day of meditation. I did a yoga teacher training. I was studying energy healing, and I detoxified my body and got completely sober. And then got the download to move to Portland, where I continued my energy healing education. And then finally was in a space where I'm like, oh, okay, I've transmuted all of this energy through actually like going through a personal healing. And now I'm able to hold space for others in their journey.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's so fascinating. Do you ever think that like, I don't know, I'm not 100% sold on this theory, but sometimes I think God, maybe we have to go through those really like intense periods of darkness, partly for our own healing, but just even to like remember what the people that we're working with, like how dark the dark can feel for them, right? Because otherwise it's when you're like really spiritually connected, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget how dark the dark feels.
Yeah. Ooh, full body chills. Yes, absolutely. Because there is, when we can carry those light codes from a depth of authentic understanding of like, not only can I stand in this light, in this bliss, in this like vision of your expansion of you on the other side of this darkness, I can stand here of also knowing what it feels like to be where you are. And that's just like a code in our DNA that gives a deeper sense of like trust of like, I've alchemized this. Not only am I standing here saying like, yes, you can do it. And I feel you in this vibration of light that I'm holding, but I also have the path of how to get there. Like on a cellular level, on a frequency level, I can say, this is the path. It's not just like, kind of like I describe it as like, there's this mountain and you can be, take a helicopter to the top of the mountain and be at the top of the mountain and stand there and know what it feels like up there. And it can be amazing and expansive. But if you just took that helicopter and you just got there really easily and you didn't trek up the mountain, find the path, get your body really strong, go through that like workout, go through the struggle, like whatever thing that needed to happen to get there, you'll never know how to get there again, right? Like if you don't have that helicopter, you'll just be stuck up there. Now you can go down, you can go back up. And also you have like all of these skills and tools to know like, oh, there's like a new mountain I want to go to, a new elevation, a new height. And my body's really strong because it's integrated the understanding of how to get there. So I think it's essential. And I think on this path too, there have been years where I've just been in complete like lightness, 5D, 60, 70, I don't even know what dimension, but like on a whole other planet. But then I've like had to kind of go back into the shadow work again, where it's like, oh, there's these deeper layers of integration and embodiment. Because as we expand, we got to go deep to go wide again, deep to go wide again. Mm-hmm. And as we go into that depth and like remember kind of those places, it just, I think, brings a deeper layer of wholeness to the way that we can hold space for others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy. It just makes me think too, like, oh, I've been up the mountain. Of course I can guide you up the mountain. I can show you the, right, not the shortcuts, like, but the easier spots that I found.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I fell over here. So yeah, like, let's do it this way. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So, okay, there's two things that I want to talk about. So I would love to hear about the different modalities that you work with. And I also want to take a moment to talk about a little bit more about your childhood and your upbringing, and just like, yeah, just acknowledging how, even if you had like really amazing, kind of spiritually open-minded parents, how it can still be really challenging to feel like you have activations that you don't even have language for, and that don't fit in with the paradigm of the, family you're born into and that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's just talk about that for a couple minutes. And
sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so definitely, my parents, I feel like, really expressed interesting aspects of like masculine and feminine energy. I feel like my mom on some level was in her masculine with being like very successful, kind of corporate businesswoman, traveled abundantly and wasn't at home, maybe for like weeks out of the month. She'd be traveling for work. And so was very much in a masculine energy in that sense. But then she also was very much in her feminine, in that when she was home and when she was present, she would like bake the cookies and help you, do your school projects and, be very, very present and nurturing mother. My father, I feel like, is definitely way more expressed in masculine energy, maybe to a point where he hasn't integrated a lot of feminine awareness, even though he's very intuitive. So like when it came to my own healing journey and what happened when I was 14 and I was experiencing those symptoms of like depression and anxiety, or being labeled as that, my dad was like, your body knows everything. You don't need to take medication. Don't listen to doctors. Like your body has infinite wisdom. So he was very much in an intuitive sense of understanding about how the body works. He's very against like Western medicine and very much kind of has like that shamanic vibe of like, you have infinite power within. And my mom, it was more so like, just listen to the doctor, honey. Let's like make this better. And so she, on some level, I don't think was as in tune with the physical body on a level, because her mental concept of the way that healing works was very structured in trust in the medical system, because she works in the medical system. So interesting like dynamic between the two of them. There is definitely challenges, within my family, as all of us have gone through on some level. I am the oldest of two younger brothers and then a cousin who was kind of raised like a brother. So I had all of these boys around me. And something I've really learned about myself, especially as I have deeper integrated my sacred mission here, which is to awaken this divine feminine goddess frequency, is that growing up, no one ever called me a goddess. No one ever called me a priestess. No one ever told me I was a queen. I got like teased by my brothers, like, ooh, you're this, you're that. And so I also, I think, witnessed a lot of the way that like masculine energy in its toxic expression judges the feminine energy or judges women, and took on a lot of like self-judgment around my own sensual expression. So that kind of shut down a lot of like my sensuality as a superpower, where I didn't feel super comfortable growing up, like dressing a certain way, because my dad always told me, like, if you dress like this, then you're attracting this kind of attention, or you're asking for this kind of attention, or if you act like this, then men are going to respond like this. And so I think that that kind of put a certain density or weight on me fully feeling empowered and confident in my sexuality, or in my ability to like express myself and be sexy, which I think is also deeply connected to that intuition and also that like channeling of spiritual energy and creative energy. So I feel like that kind of got shut down. My brothers, like, part of their like hobbies is like collecting guns or watching video or playing video games and watching TV and like all these like more kind of violent energies. And I'm like, ooh, crystals and rainbows and mysticism. And so they always teased me about it. They always teased me in a way that made me question myself and like, oh, okay, like crazy Brittany, like with her, magic ideas. And so I think that that also too dwindled a lot of confidence in me really feeling as though that was true, because I didn't have a network of like people around me who were also speaking that language. And even like going into college and like friends that I was around, I was always like the woo woo one, and I didn't have like a woo woo network. And it wasn't really until I stepped into a like certain layer of my path where I surrounded myself with a lot of sacred sisters who also do ritual together around energy healing modalities, that all of this like awakening within my own DNA started to happen. And I think it's so important to have that network of people around you that support that belief in yourself, because it was really easy for me to lose connection to the confidence in who I am and what I'm here to embody, because of how I grew up and how it was very different than everything in my family. But I've come to like realize like, oh, I'm here to be that in my family, to be like this certain frequency of difference. And I've also learned to embrace that their experience of spirituality or connection to their alignment just looks different than me. So like, from Christmas, like I'll buy my brother some, thing that has to do with guns or video games, and he'll buy me like crystals and essential oils. And we're both like expressed in our spirituality. And, one of my brothers in particular, like he's very Christian and reads the Bible. And like, I didn't grow up doing that. And he just has a different expression of connection to spirituality. So I think even though at some points in my journey, I had like resentment for the way in which I feel as though my magic was held down or suppressed or not encouraged or not embraced, I've also come to recognize like that we all just have different ways of expressing that magic or experiencing that. And that, I used to have judgment of like, oh, my way is the way, to like connection spiritually. And I've learned to embrace and really come into a deeper experience of like unconditional love for my family and the way in which they express their connection to spirituality, even though it has looked different than my own.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like that it's such the deliberate psyop, meaning like just the mind fuck that's created to sort of like pit us in such a way that we believe, like fosters that sort of polarizing belief that like my way is the correct way on so many levels, whether it's spirituality or values or life choice, whatever. But also I really feel like it is a big psyop too that exists, that like woo woo is even a term that's so dismissive of like people who just are more, I don't know, it's like our energy fields are more porous. We just receive more information that's non-physical or with more awareness or something like that. And I think it's a really common, like I just think it's where we are evolutionarily. Like it's not necessarily that your family was like a bunch of jerks or anything, right? It's just sort of like in our evolution, we still struggle with that, I don't know, that tendency to ridicule other people when we don't understand them at
Yeah.
best, or can completely condemn them as wrong at worst. And that really it is all about finding that place, like you said, of deep compassion within to be like, oh, your connection looks different than mine, but it's
Mhm.
still a connection. And also your path looks different than mine. So at any point you might even not, like you might choose to reject your connection, and that's your path. And that's not worse than my path either, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just think that's so helpful to talk about that, because I know for a lot of people that message me listening to the podcast, like there is that kind of sense of alienation and like feeling like the odd person out in their family or their friendship groups. And that it's helpful just to be reminded that like we're just all going through this together, and like it's not an indication of anything necessarily wrong with your family or your group or you. It's just kind of a thing that happens as we all express our our shadow and our authenticity.
Yeah. And I feel like there is this point on the journey where it's actually so essential to come into reunion with soul family, right? So
Mhm.
like if your chosen like earth family who are soulmates on some level do not resonate with really embodying a certain level of connection to the way that you are spiritually, expressing yourself or feeling called to go on a certain path, that there is this part where connecting with soul family that like is speaking that same language, that is doing same practices, that is illuminating new understandings of kind of building on what it is that you're feeling called to on a soul level, that there is like such a power and necessity for reuniting with those frequencies. And I know at certain points in my path I actually had to take like more space for my earth family and focus on the vibration of my soul family, because I couldn't become a deeper embodiment of this like alignment with my soul if I kept resonating with the reminder of like what my earth family like knows me to be. I had to be in this like other vibration, so sometimes it does take that like separation or just space to really prioritize like the frequency of who you're surrounding yourself with and how that feels, and if it's like activating your DNA into a higher expression of alignment, then like really, calling those in. And if you haven't like connected with soul family yet, like just like telling the universe, telling your guides like you're ready to start that process. Because for me it happened in like little like nuggets and moments, and then this person would introduce me to this person, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this whole matrix of support that I have here on a soul level that's here to actually illuminate a deeper way in which I can embody what I'm here to do. And being around them actually catapults a lot of momentum in a way that we can collapse time and do things in a whole different vibration of potential, because they believe in me and also, are speaking that language.
Totally, totally, totally. And like to not wait around for our earth family to be able to embody those roles for us, because they may not ever. That might not even be the purpose of those karmic relationships. And that like exactly, there are other people that we can sort of like harmonize with, kind of like how if there's two guitars together and you pluck the string of one, then the same
Yeah.
string of the other will start vibrating. Like why not find our people that we vibrate with, like you said, that activates our DNA and activates our codes and helps us to move into the embodiment of who we really believe we are and really feel that we are, rather than exactly like you said, who our family knows us to be. which
Right.
is the very limited version. Even the most loving families, for the most part, like we have all this history and context right from the very beginning. And it can feel really restrictive. And I also love what you said about how growing up you were never called a goddess or a priestess or a queen or any of those things. And I love that you've claimed that for yourself, because we can also spend a lot of time waiting for to be given that from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it is ours inherently. It is ours inherently to claim for ourselves. And when we step into it and claim it, then we can get on with embodying that rather than waiting for somebody to see it in us.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is the, most recent expression of my mission, which has evolved from just being energy healing, but actually to awaken and illuminate the goddess frequency, especially in women. I do work with some men, but especially in women, and just really illuminating this through the portal of sensuality and pleasure, and integrating a very expansive potential for bliss within our physical vessel. So as I've kind of like navigated on this path more and more, ever since I was a child, like would experience like orgasmic energy in my head, in my crown chakra, in my third eye, in my heart, like just like really deep experiences of bliss and pleasure. And I just walked around thinking like, oh, everybody feels crown chakra orgasms all the time. Like, I like didn't know that not everyone feels that. And I started talking to people about it, or the way that I sense energy or feel things in my body. And, in my path and in my work, I've come to learn that there are so many people who are very disconnected from the experience of pleasure in their own body. And that pleasure energy, that sexual energy, is a catalyst and key for so many multidimensional layers of our healing. And because there has been trauma or, trapped energies on a karmic level, or different mental belief systems that put constructs around the way in which we feel safe to express that part of ourselves, or even just allow that energy to channel within us. And also, just a lot of subconscious things. I've come to find that there are so many people that like don't experience the level of bliss that their body has the capacity to, and actually have really normalized being in a state of stress or pain in their body. So there are so many individuals that I encounter that are, in a chronic state of physical discomfort, and they've come to accept that, yeah, like as I get older, my knees just hurt. Or, yeah, of course, like I've always just had digestion issues. Or, oh, my mom, has had, issues with fibroids. And, of course I'm getting those too. And just have like allowed that to be normal, rather than allowing like this orgasmic potential of bliss in their body to also be normal. So that's something that I'm just really passionate about illuminating within people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I would love to then like just sort of segue into like how all of your modalities come together, and like what kind of work do you do? Like if somebody has a session with you or a series of sessions with you, what kind of experience do you lead them through? I know, of course, it's unique to every person and what their particular situation is and what kind of healing they need, but within, describing your your unique gifts and
Yeah.
specialties and modalities, I'd love to hear about it.
Beautiful. So I call what I do quantum energy healing. And that phrase was actually just downloaded to me as I put all of these different tools that I have within this lifetime and other lifetimes received. So one of the main modalities is called body talk. There's also an element of it called body intuitive, where we talk to your body in the 0 point field and find out on a anatomy and physiology level, on a chakra level, on a multidimensional level of ancestral energy and past lifetimes, like where and why certain energetic patterns and programs are being stored in your vessel, mind, body, spirit. And we bring those to light for illumination, for clearing, and for release. We do that through tapping on different energy points, really bringing into alignment the head, heart, and belly, brain. So that's one of the main implementation techniques is tapping that I use. I'm also attuned in Reiki and different shamanic rituals, and those kind of just get channeled in as, spirit guides me. Within every session, it's completely unique to whatever tool wants to come in. And then there are also like sacred light code energy that were downloaded to me through different mystical, spiritual awakening experiences that were not something that I learned through anything other than from within myself. So I really resonate with the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and these different starseed races who literally have like downloaded my body with light through different meditative practices and given me the mission to channel that light through my sessions. I also am very passionate about holographic sound healing. So this uses multidimensional levels of light and sound energy to illuminate balance within the chakra system. So a lot of the implementation of the different formulas that we create through this process also are encoded into a sound healing technology. And then fitness. Fitness is a huge part of my life and kind of the way that I integrate more of that masculine expression of movement and momentum into the physical body. So we work, in guided meditation and in these different energy healing concepts and rituals, but then also anchoring that movement and that intention and that awareness into physical body movement. So I call it like a spiritual fitness practice. The majority of my clients are in a journey of transformation, generally starting about 3 months, where we go through like a different phase. So this is, a real commitment to a process of elevation over a period of time, because all of these programs and patterns and ways in which people are wanting to manifest either physical body integration of balance or manifestations or elevate on whatever level, it takes a process of clearing, of integrating, and then embodying. We meet usually once a week, sometimes, touching base in between sessions. There's a component of like lifestyle design, mindset, and manifestation coaching. And then there is the element of the energy healing work. And the majority of the people that I work with generally are women who are overly expressed in their masculine energy. So they've maybe mastered a lot of manifestation and creation of things, but from a place of being so disconnected to their body, their sensuality, their pleasure, and their bliss, that what they've manifested or the path that they're on may be not in alignment with their soul's highest alignment and desire, and also doesn't feel fulfilling. So that, can look like physical body pain, that can look like ways in which relationships feel out of balance, repeated patterns where you just feel stuck. A lot of my clients also too are not involved in a sacred self-pleasure, self-care, or fitness routine. So there is a lot of accountability and integration and tools and support to nourish all of those elements of lifestyle transformation.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And it makes me think of as you were describing the women that you tend to work with and the way that they have mastered manifestation and creation, but from the masculine sort of energy, it just makes me think of manifestation, achievement rather than fulfillment. Because we can manifest we're achieving things and taking things, taking off the box of who we think we should be or what ducks to have in a row, what to create in our lives in order to use that as the source of our sense of ass kickery. But it doesn't necessarily create, like you said, pleasure in our lives and deep fulfillment and happiness in our relationships and in our bodies and our relationship to self. So yeah, that's really cool. And I also really appreciate what you're saying about the journey, totally, that there's so much to be said for choosing to how do I put it? It really is choosing to invest in a journey like that. It really is. Whether you really see investment, the term investment, as monetary only, but it's also time and energy and the decision to commit to yourself and your fulfillment for a period of time and see what happens. And those ones are really transformational, really profoundly transformational, and they do go to those places where we need to heal and clear out things that are stuck in there. holding us back.
Absolutely. I always compare this journey to fitness because I feel like it's something people can really, resonate with. It's like, yeah, you can do one session and like feel those endorphins and feel good. But if you really want to integrate a new vibrational pattern for your new foundation of who you are being, it takes that repetition. It takes that commitment. It takes that showing up every day with these different practices and ways of embodying a new version of yourself. And when you work, with someone who's holding you in that accountability and in that support and in that motivation and in that, vision of your expansion, you get to collapse time and, move with a lot more intention and integrity because of the commitment that you've made to yourself and to that person to be on that journey with you.
Totally. It's like climbing up the mountain with a guide.
Exactly.
And ideally the guide doesn't like show you the whole way, lets you kind of like pick your path and whatever, but it is also there to sort of like bring you back so that, because if we don't have somebody, we can still do it, but it's easy to get discouraged, especially towards the base of the mountain when we're like, fuck it. I'll just stay down here. It's so big and daunting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so let people know where they can find you to get the most interaction. I'll include all of your social media stuff in the show notes so that people can find you for sure. But where would they follow you or connect with you to get the most interaction?
So I definitely hang out the most on Instagram. So you can just find me by my first and my last name, Brittany Gordine. And then my website is themagneticvibe.com. Magneticvibe.com and then Brittany Gordine on Instagram.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Brittany, for being here and sharing your journey. It was really beautiful and really inspiring. And I know it's going to make a big difference for a lot of people who hear it. So thank you for your time and your beautiful energy.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate you.
And for everybody listening, if you enjoyed this, if it was meaningful to you in any way, please reach out to either Brittany or I, or take a screenshot of yourself listening to this episode and tag us in it and post it to your favorite social media. It will make us so happy. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you're doing amazing. You have a beautiful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for being here with me on this episode. I appreciate you more than my words could ever say. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share, and I will catch you on the next episode.